Continuing You Can Change the World, The Christopher Approach by James Keller. We are starting with Chapter 9, Social Service, Man's Welfare, Here as well as Hereafter. A study was made in 1942 of social, industrial, and economic conditions in Syracuse, New York, considered to be an average, fairly well-to-do American community. According to the survey, nearly everyone in the city had a job at that time, with the total weekly payrolls amounting to some 900,000. Despite this prosperity, however, during the course of the investigation, it was discovered that 70% of the families in Syracuse received services from social service agencies. Of the 60,000 family groups living there, 7 out of every 10 used an average of 2 units of social service apiece out of the city's 114 welfare, health, and recreation agencies. This figure, furthermore, does not include persons admitted to hospitals, the beneficiaries of social insurance programs, the users of public playgrounds, nor the services rendered by agencies which failed to report. The final cost of all services combined was approximately $9 million a year, or about 10 weeks of payroll income. This one instance alone gives some idea of the extensive scope of the social work field, a field which seeks to meet 4 general problems: economic need, health, behavior, and the use of leisure time. Through the use of scientific knowledge and methods, it gives too some idea of the frequency with which the general public calls on social service agencies for assistance and counsel. The pressing problems of the present with regard to this field are twofold. One concerns the lack of sufficient trained, sound-thinking men and women to handle the increasing volume of social service work. The second is concerned with the materialistic approach used by many officials and social caseworkers in their conduct of social service affairs. It is an approach that considers each person not as an individual created by God, but as an animal whose instincts are a little different from the Marxist idea of a human beast of burden in a collective state, or, as Hitler put it, a potential beast of prey. By no means are all social welfare personnel subversives. Many of them are urging needed reforms in business, government, social relations, but no matter how good their suggested reform programs may be, the fact that they omit any reference to the Creator, to any secure basis for human rights, make their program dangerous. Well, if they're encouraging whatever, that gotta admit that's a step, right? It eventually heads them for the collapse that dooms all materialistic endeavors. The Christopher, on the other hand, who has the clear-cut concept at the origin of all human rights, who has a firm belief in the sacred worth of every human being. I can think of a lot of human rights that you can't really find supported by the Bible, if that's what they're thinking, the sacred worth of every human being. Could do much in this field to ensure more lasting blessings to many here and over the world, who are finding the battle of life ever more difficult. Without that emphasis, without that clear-cut concept, the best of social reform programs becomes but another potent weapon in the hands of those who would wreck our country, instead of a means by which we can build a better world. T.S. Eliot put this thought quite clearly. "This is the last and greatest treason," he wrote, "to do the right deed for the wrong reason." Divisions of social work. In the United States today, there are 72 national and 576 state governmental organizations whose functions are closely allied to the field of social work. In addition, there are 442 national and international and 59 state voluntary organizations dealing with social and welfare work. In this country, there are 100,000 social workers classified under 108 different titles. Generally speaking, social service agencies are divided into governmental services, federal, state, and local paid for by taxes, and private or voluntary services supported by contributions, bequests, or part payment fees. The private agencies exist, of course, because communities find a need and try to meet it. The public agencies exist by virtue of an unquestionable moral truth. The duty of rulers is to protect the community and its various elements in protecting the rights of individuals. They must have special regard for the infirm and needy. If, however, private resources do not suffice, it is the duty of the public authority to supply for the insufficient resources of personal effort. Hence, in making laws and in disposing of public funds, they must do their utmost to relieve the penury of the needy, considering such as one of the most important of their administrative duties. Pope Pius XI said that. The duty of rulers to administrative duties is his quote. In the Social Work Yearbook, 1947, put out by the Russell Sage Foundation, there are listed 80 different divisions of social service work. To give but a few, there are administration of social agencies, adoption, adult education, adult offenders, the aged, aliens and foreign-born, the blind, boys and girls work organizations, Catholic social work, child labor and youth employment, community chests, crippled children, daycare of children, disaster relief, education for social work, employment services, and so on. As is obvious from this partial listing, social services deal with a much wider range of problems than just those of poverty and need. For example, there is the enormously important field of crime prevention and juvenile delinquency. Among the federal agencies dealing with this problem are the Children's Bureau, the Department of Labor, the Federal Security Agency, the U.S. Office of Education, the U.S. Probation System, the Bureau of Public Assistance, and the Social Security Board. State agencies include youth commissions and public welfare departments. Other groups in this field are the churches, the Boy and Girl Scouts, the Junior Red Cross, the 4-H clubs, the Congress of Parents and Teachers, the General Federation of Women's Clubs, labor auxiliaries, women's church councils, and various other Protestant, Jewish, and Catholic organizations. And given that the New Age was rising at that time, I'm sure there were plenty of those too. The nature of social service work and its dangers. Activity in this field today is largely of two kinds: social group work and social casework. Social group work involves such spheres as Americanization, community organization, club activities, neighborhood work, recreation, civic activity, housing, legislation, publicity, public health. Social casework is concerned with such fields as child welfare, family welfare, medical and social services, probation, parole, and protective care, psychiatric social work, school visiting, school attendance, social investigation. Those who have made a study of prevailing theories and practices in this field state that social casework is primarily a matter of personal analysis, analyzing approach is based on ideas and techniques which, on the whole, are materialistic and pagan. Again, what do they mean by pagan? Social workers learn a great deal of the required knowledge of sociology, economics, government, psychology, and other social